Okay guys, so we're gonna start on some single leg defense, okay? And we're always gonna look to take advantage of kind of when the match gets slippery and the fact that in Jiu-Jitsu we don't wear any shoes, okay? And the first thing that we need to think about though is the more joints that my partner controls on the single leg, the more control he has, right? So when his shoulder is really tight in on my hip over here, he's got 3 joints. He's got my hip, my knee, and my ankle. If I can kind of push him away a little bit and get him off my hip, I'm starting to come out. And then if I can start to fight hands and start to free my knee, I'm starting to come out, right? So the whole idea is I want to look to escape my leg, okay? So the first one that we can look to do is, again, I make that distance. So I'm kind of pushing either his head and his shoulders or some combination of both away. And then probably I'm going to look to change to his hands once I get a good frame in place. And then I'm going to start to bring my knee out towards my chest. And you can hold a little bit tighter, Edward. Yeah, good. Put my knee out towards my chest over here. And I'm going to look to kind of like push his belly with my toes and just take my leg out just like that. So this one's going to be easier to do if you're kind of flexible, you're okay with bringing your knee up pretty high towards your chest. And then we'll look at another option if you're not, okay? So one more time, he's in on this side this time. Again, I'm going to look to frame over there, start to free my hip. And then from here, I'm just looking for which side's easier to fight hands. And keep that frame, get that foot to the belly. I'm just going to push and then just extract my leg, okay? Now, there's one other way that I can take my leg out if I feel it slipping out. But again, I'm not that flexible. It's called a limp leg, okay? So we start with that same beginning. So as I'm here, I'm kind of pushing my partner away. I get the grip on the hands and I take my knee out. But now, if I'm having trouble bringing that leg up higher, what I'm going to look to do instead is turn and kick and then come back to the position. So my knee, instead of having to go up, which takes more flexibility, now goes down and then I can turn and kick, okay? And there's a degree of back exposure here, right? It's because I'm kind of turning away from him. But if I use this hand, it's pretty easy to kind of mitigate that. What we never want to do is we never want to limp leg when my partner's still up on my hip and controlling the knee, right? Because if I do that, yeah, he's just going to change exactly to that body lock, okay? No good. All right, so he's climbing that ladder on me, never a good thing, okay? That being said, there are stages to how much risk you can put into it. So what I mean by that is sometimes you're here, you free that knee, and you don't feel like your leg's coming out in one move. You can turn all the way 360, but just make sure you're returning back to a good stance. And then the final one that sometimes happens over here is, again, we free our knee, but my foot gets really hung up, and you can see I even stumble a little bit. That's okay. I go hands to the ground, and I'm almost gonna leapfrog, and then get myself out of there and back in a good stance, okay? So obviously, different, more risk the more we progress down that limp leg series, right? This would be the least risky. If I had a spin, obviously my back gets exposed to a degree. And if I put my hands and my knees on the ground, again, I'm lower to the mat, maybe risking a takedown. So you just gotta do it based on the scenario that you're working from and how much risk you're willing to take given the scenario.
We're good.
Cool. All right, so before we go to the next idea, I just want to kind of explain a couple more things on this position over here. Again, what I'm looking to do is kind of push my partner down and away. If I can do that, then that's going to be the furthest distance that I can start to make. And then again, on that first one, you know, if something starts coming loose over here, if you notice his grip is just like controlling like the ankle or something like that, he's not locking hands or anything like that anymore. So can you just cut? Yeah, like he's starting to lose his grip. You know, if you can't come out the top because of that, you can always just stomp down at any point that you see that you can break through that position. The last thing that I'll say is, can we do this side actually over here? Is when he's in on this leg over here, and I go to limp leg, right? So again, I can be framing, and another good time to do this position is when my partner's going to transition. So you'll get guys who they want to bring the leg high and inside, so exactly just like that, yeah. So as that transition happens, as he goes to reach for that ankle, boom, there's a time where I can take advantage of that transition. And then finally, when I'm here, a lot of times on the limp leg, I like to control the hand. So again, I get my knee up, I like to control the hand, because if something gets hung up over here, what he's going to be looking to do is use his back hand to go to my knee over here. Perfect, yeah, and now my knee can't kick, right? So when I'm in this position, when I get this out, if I'm blocking hands over here, now it's a little bit harder for him to go get that knee, boom, and hopefully I can be gone before he makes that transition, okay? Cool.